We are heading into a new normal. The new normal where geopolitics, both in terms of risk and potentially in terms of opportunities that arises from the changes in geopolitics, is going to have a profound impact on all economies. And of course, the largest economies such as US, China, obviously blocs like European Union, will also see the most brunt of that impact. Dubai is one of those economies that will reap the benefits of actually increasing geopolitical events. The reason being is, number one, it's a hugely important international hub, both in terms of trade, both in terms of innovation, and of course as a financing hub. As a China expert, I view Dubai as a very important partner to work together to really understand how to transition global supply chains, both in terms of decarbonization, transitioning also with emerging economies becoming obviously much more consumption-driven. China and the US both have really a responsibility to drive global growth, both as the biggest economies now in the world. They will also undergo national changes, but they have such a scale and influence that they need to be responsible for the rest of the world. So regardless of who comes into power, regardless of the current tensions and sectoral conflicts, there needs to be some agreement to disagree, but also ways to work together. The positive change is that at the business and working level, there are many really ways of working together, particularly on climate change and particularly on driving innovation, and really to provide a much more profound and efficient ecosystem for other economies to thrive. There is a significant funding gap. And the key is really, first of all, the global markets are shifting, particularly as global central banks are having to react on the back of changing inflation outlook, on the back of changing growth outlook. So there is a funding gap and there is a long-term funding gap. The key is how investors and those who need the finance come together to make sure that those who can take on the risk are able to come and invest, and those who have limited risk appetite have enough of a buffer in order to access funding channels. So the key for many central bankers and for those who can provide liquidity is to really provide a deep and liquid market for that funding to come through. The key for government is not to crowd out that funding. The key is to accelerate and to provide enough of a confidence in the markets, the liquidity and depth of those financial markets and funding channels will prevail, regardless of economic cycles.